Janita, thank you so much for taking our time to help us understand a bit more about the impetus of cancer and how cancer works, and for helping us also then understand how pulse electromagnetic frequencies and ozone treatment is helping those who are battling with cancer. So if you could please tell us a little bit more about cancers, just help us to understand how that works. Secondly, what is pulse electromagnetic frequency and why it is so effective for treating cancer? And then also, what is ozone therapy and why is it so effective for treating cancer? So please, thank you, Janita, if you can tell us more about that.
I will. Good to see you, Monique. So first, I want to premise this with the foundation. You have to have an understanding of the impetus of cancer. By calling it breast cancer, uterine cancer, prostate cancer, colon cancer, people get very compartmentalized about it. And they really think that one cancer is different than the other. And also you want to think about, well, why did it hit this particular organ, right? Because fundamentally, all cancers are nearly identical. The impetus, what causes the cancer to start, is identical, okay? And it's very simple, okay? And it also makes it very easy to understand why cancer is now epidemic when once, just not so long ago, 50 years ago, it was not, okay? The C word was never heard when I was as a teenager. I never remember. In fact, I remember the first person in my family that got a diagnosis at a very old age of the C word. And it was, these days it goes around like coffee, So here's the impetus of cancer. Very simple. Low transmembrane voltage and what causes it, okay? Every cell of your body, except for the heart cells, which is very interesting. Every cell of your body runs at generally negative 70 millivolt, okay? Except for the heart, which runs at 120. Okay, now this is interesting when you're looking at the impetus of cancer, because heart cancer doesn't exist. I think they make one heart cancer case a day in the U.S. just to keep it on the books. It doesn't exist because it has a high transmembrane voltage. The heart gets viruses and heart attacks, from what we all know, but not cancer. Okay. So, and here's why. Low transmembrane voltage. We know for a fact that when a cell drops from about -70 to 35, right in there, what happens is, and by the way, here's the impetus, the cause. Low transmembrane voltage is caused by low oxygen, low nutrients, okay, low hydrogen, all right? And so what causes low oxygen? Inflammation. Okay, every toxicity causes inflammation. Any kind of condition, psych drugs, psychotropic drugs, any OTC drug, they all rupture cells in various parts of the body. They cause inflammation. Bad diet, things rotting in your gut, cause inflammation in the colon and in the intestines. You start getting problems there, which then will eventually can turn into cancer. So remember, low transmembrane voltage, which is a product of low nutrient delivery, low water hydration. Bottled water does not hydrate you. Low hydration, low nutrient, low hydration, low oxygen, hydrogen. Everybody is hydrogen deficient today. So anyway, so this causes low transmembrane voltage. What happens, every cell of your body has the same survival mechanism as you do, okay? You are built to survive. So what the cells do when the transmembrane voltage starts dropping, it recognizes that it's dying, okay? The cell doesn't want to die. So it goes into survival mode, like you would go into survival mode if a tiger were chasing you, you'd run and look for a tree, right? You go into survival mode. Cells, the wisdom of the cell, they do the same thing. Read Bruce Lipton's book, The Biology of Belief. So the wisdom of the cell does the same thing. It's just a microcosm mirrors a macrocosm and vice versa. So what it does when the transmembrane voltage goes low and it's sluggish, it can't work, it's dying, all right? It creates an enzyme okay, so the standard, the healthy way to create ATP is to use oxygen, hydrogen, glucose, it is called aerobic glycolysis, to create ATP energy in the mitochondria, okay? Well, what happens is it creates, because it doesn't have any oxygen, okay? So what it does is it's an enzyme that splits glucose cells, because there's always plenty of glucose in our bodies, right? So it splits glucose for energy. So what this is called is anaerobic glycolysis, all right? So anaerobic meaning working in low or no oxygen environment. And what this does is it causes it just flips the entire mechanism of the cell. So now it's just splitting glucose for energy, which creates, once this is upregulated, creates a ton of lactic acid, which further reduces oxygen, and things just get out of control. All the regulatory factors in the cell are shut off, and the cell just replicates, right? Because it's in survival mode, right? So it's trying to protect it. It's like, okay, now I'm anaerobic. I need lots of lactic acid. It's just a byproduct of lactic acid. I was actually looking at a patient's NutriVal, which looks at everything, a vitamin mineral assay, environmental toxicity, everything, the Krebs cycle, and gut dysbiosis, gut factors. And I knew her to be very low oxygen. Her oxygen transfer in the lungs, when I put her on an O2 meter, was always very low. She rode low while coming into the clinic. But then when I got her labs back, I saw extremely high lactic acid. And I was like, Lisa, because she was in Utah at the time. I said, go to your doctor and get a full cancer screen. I suspect cancer somewhere. Bam, there it was. She had a 9 centimeter. In fact, the tumor was so large in her uterus it had its own blood supply. So that's the impetus of cancer. So what you need to correct it. Okay, now we'll go into solution mode. We got the problem. Here's the solution. Of course, you have to increase oxygen. You have to increase hydration. The cell needs to clean out. Increase and truly hydrate. So you need to increase oxygen, big, huge. Increase nutrients, to increase the transmembrane voltage. Okay. Well, how do you do that? Well, PEMF and ozone. In fact, when I got my $36,000 German technology PEMF bed that actually I can dial to any frequency and it emulates the Earth's geomagnetic frequencies, which is very helpful. The Earth's geomagnetic frequencies are actually dropping because of all the toxicity and poor soil that doesn't have the conductive range that you have for the planet. But when I was researching, because I was like looking at the biochemical aspects, the biochemical impact of each treatment, I started looking at, wow, this is really great because EBOO, ozone blood dialysis, when I mean high blood volume, you can't just do a lot of chemotherapy, 200 cc of blood and expect to create a sustainable impact, okay? And you can't just do these things as single bullet treatments either. Everything needs to be addressed. How you hydrate, nutrient delivery, oxygen uptake, and stimulating the cells to start functioning better and start helping them raise their transmembrane voltage. You have to get rid of inflammation, which is choking off oxygen to the cells. You have to eat properly. You have to detox because toxicity causes inflammation. So you really need a full comprehensive treatment plan to do it right, okay? So anyway, when I was researching EBOO and PEMF, and I was looking at, wow, PEMF dramatically reduces inflammation, it increases circulation, it increases ion exchange across the cell walls. It's literally like putting jumper cables on a battery. It boosts the transmembrane voltage while you're in the session even, okay? And it gets things working. It energizes the cells. It gets them using the ions from the hydration. It gets them using the oxygen. It gets them functioning because everything has a ground zero, the divine design, how it was designed. you can start getting oxygen and nutrients into that cell and getting the waste out, it will go back to its ground zero and start using oxygen again. Because it costs the cell a lot. It's hard for the cell to make those enzymes to do anaerobic glycolysis. Of course, it wants to go back to the way it was designed. It just needs that. And once it sees it's there and you give it a little boost, then boom, it'll start working for you. But it's interesting because I was putting all this together and doing my research. I'm like, these two together really complement each other, right? And I'll explain that in a few minutes. But so while researching it, I found an article by Dr. Circus, who is one of my heroes, and a few left still alive. I won't work with a doctor unless he's under 70. And Dr. Circus is brilliant. He actually knows his biological chemistry, right? And I think, my opinion is you need to know that to be a good doctor. He's a damn good doctor. So anyway, and he was interviewing a guy, a scientist, doctor at Cambridge University. And what were they talking about? They were talking about a combination of EBOO and, well, actually of ozone autohemotherapy, much lower quantities than we do here at the clinic. But even at that level, and of course, the standard, not even, the German technology that I have that emulates the exact way that the Earth's frequencies are delivered to the body, which makes a difference. But they were, talking about the little, what I call the consumer level type PEMF devices, which, if that's all you got, it's good. I'm just, I'm an engineer turned medical professional, and I like my toilet, I like being the best, and I like getting the best results. So I go in and pay for the good stuff, and because the consumer level that can, they have limitations. I don't like limitations. All right. So anyway, but that was very interesting. I'm like, they're on this, and why aren't all these clinics? Cambridge University, everything gets stuck at the university level. That's why most of my research is at academic, highly esteemed institutions. I research what they're doing. So anyway, I was very pleased to see that. And so all this research, like usual, is stuck at the academic level. They won't port it out to, medical standards of care, because of course it would get in on big pharma's profits, and everyone knows that's what's preventing people from getting insurance coverage for the things that I do, preventing access to all kinds of treatments. Well, so far less, they're non-toxic, non-invasive, and non-addictive. And so, what big pharma is all about. So anyway, I was very pleased to see that. I'll take the next question. I know I go on and on. If you're ready, we can start just going in specifically in the PEMF, how it does it in EBOO, and why they're so good together.
Yes. How exactly do you do the treatment? When you do the PEMF treatment, how is it done, and how does it make you feel? How do your patients react to it?
Okay, well, it's funny. I actually have to hand them a magnet so they can watch the magnet dance. Because people want things they can take. We're born consumers. If we're not born a consumer, we're cultivated to be one. So it's the invisible. So it's energy actually is the most important thing. In fact, the most important thing for our health are the invisible ones: hydrogen, oxygen, and carbon dioxide, which everybody is low on today because of the toxicity of the planet. It's the invisible things that are actually the most potent, and actually they are the ground zero to build on when we're approaching our health. It's the invisible things: energy, the environment, your home environment is very, very telling of your physical health. In fact, Einstein said that. He said, two people in the same room will energetically, through their heart EMF, their physical EMF output, find a resonance. If one's high energy and one is lower energy, upset and depressed, that the high energy, unless you're trained like your medical professionals are and shamans, to keep your frequency, if you're susceptible or an empath, things like that, you'll drop and they'll come up a little bit. Or, you know, if you're having a bad day and you go visit somebody having a good day, their energy is going to have a positive impact on you. It's good medicine. Go visit somebody having a good day. So anyway, I have to hand them a magnet so they can see, you know, what the magnet is. The magnets dance. And I explained to them that's going through your body, your entire body. Okay, we stimulate dopamine. I can set my frequencies to anything that I want to target, actually, and they all do the same fundamental thing. All the frequencies to different, in different capacities, do the same fundamental things toward cancer. Increases circulation, increases ionic exchange across the intra and extracellular, the cell wall, and boosts the transmembrane voltage. Literally get things, and they actually, the frequencies that we use actually dial in, you know, the baseline frequency of the Earth is 7.83 hertz, okay? We sometimes just start with that because we don't get that anymore from the planet, especially if you live in the city where there's a lot of electronic pollution and whatnot. Sometimes we'll start with that because cells that are toxic and having a hard time and the voltage is going down, they actually adopt very unhealthy frequencies. They're not working at the frequency, you know, the standardized frequencies that they're supposed to throughout the day. So you know, and actually PMF, even those, you know, the consumer home toys, but you know, if you can't afford to come in, definitely get one because they do help. You know, they're actually approved by the, not that the, you know, I use the FDA to bless things because a lot of things are not blessed, but the FDA won't bless because of Big Pharma, but it's actually approved by the FDA for depression, for bone healing, accelerated bone healing, for tissue healing, and for better sleep. So you know, so anyway, so there's pain. People will feel the pain, you know, reduce. We do use it a lot for pain.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, and that's really, you know, inflammation is what causes a lot of joint pain, you know, and once those, you know, that tissue starts getting rough because it's inflamed. So of course, walking and doing your activities are going to rupture nerve tissue and whatnot, and make it hurt more and more and more. And increase circulation, get the toxicities out of there, reduce inflammation. It gives those joints, with the right diet and, you know, comprehensively approaching your health issues, if it's joint pain, with the correct diet, you get rid of it. You know, people come here, you know, I literally had one client who was told she was going to have to get surgery, this and that. Her arm was in the sling. She had very limited range of motion. Came in and did the full treatment cycle when we were in Mexico. I mean, I'm just, this is for all patients, but this was a dramatic case. Her arm was in the sling. Every doctor said, well, it's going to take 6 months to heal. And she literally, we did the full comprehensive treatment cycle, all the PEMF, we could drench her in throughout the day, the EBOO, everything. And she left no pain and with nearly full range of motion a week later. So PEMF, you know, it gets, the fundamental goal is to get transmembrane voltage back up. We are light beings. Light is energy, okay? If the energy is going down, you're heading down 6 feet under down, you know? So the fundamental goal is to get the transmembrane voltage up. So we got to do diet. And by the way, pH is very important. So you want an alkaline diet. You want a nutritional ketogenic diet. And that's important that I say that. I do not go for and never have any of these fad diets, not one of them. They don't work. If they did, there wouldn't be a new one every 6 months, okay? People are still looking, it's not working. So what the difference between a ketogenic and a nutritional ketogenic diet is, there's no way a ketogenic diet is good for you. Eating protein and fat all day long makes your gut a desert when it's supposed to be a rainforest. There's nothing in there that's making all, you know, that has the components and building components for the immune system, which is healthy probiota, which is healthy bacteria. The bacteria created by the produce that you eat. Hopefully heirloom as much as possible. Always organic heirloom produce actually has a more diverse bacterial profile. So you want to go for heirloom as much as you can. But so you want to eat God didn't make us to eat fattened animals all day. It's just no. Why is all the fruit and beautiful, fruit and vegetables so colorful to attract to attract us? So we'll pick it up and go, what's this? Let's eat. So what you eat, nutritional ketogenic is you eat a very diverse diet. If you eat meat, fish, nuts, seeds, fruit, vegetables, and on every plate, but it's how you eat. You eat 2 meals a day. This 3 meals a day was never, that just started like in the last 100 years. That you eat 2 meals to satiety, very diverse meals. The 2 meals during the day need to be at about 6 hours apart, so your body goes into a natural cleansing wave. Your energy will go up just from that. You have no idea. Digesting all day long, it causes a ton. It consumes a ton of energy, okay, to digest. And also everything sitting around, decomposing, that's not digested well. Your pancreas can only put out so many enzymes. Your liver and gallbladder can only put out so much bile to break down fat. Things sit there and die. So you eat 2 meals to satiety, allow 6 hours minimum in between those 2 meals, and then late in the evening, either have a bone broth or where the word supper came from? Supper, which is soup. Okay, S-U-P-P-A-H. That was what, in those old stoves that always had a hot plate, either your bone broth or your soup. People didn't waste back then, so anything, it just went in the pot, and they would puree it, whatever, and they would just sip on that at night, as something to calm the beast if you're hungry, and that was it. Supper is not meant to be a meal. You're not meant to eat at 7 o'clock at night when you're going to bed in a couple hours. You should, at your last meal, the supper, doesn't matter. You can have broth a couple hours, hour or two before you go to bed. Even, a clear, broth, you can have that. That does not sit in the gut and cause havoc, oxidative stress in your gut all night long, okay? Yeah, so I forget what I was saying, but anyway, that's the supper you can have closer to bedtime. But you should eat your last meal at least 3 to 4 hours before you go to bed. So anyway, that's the PEMF. That by the means that I express, it raises the transmembrane voltage, gets things cleaned up, and in fact, a lot of the upscale clinics in Europe. Europe is so far ahead of us only because we've got the intelligence, we've got the passion, we've got thousands of great doctors, but because their hands aren't tied like ours are with big pharma, okay? So even socialized medicine, I'm not plugging anything here, but because I'd rather just people have a choice, right? I'm not plugging anything, socialist, anything. I'm an American, but socialized medicine countries tend to do better because they can't afford sick people. They don't want you on drugs forever because they got to pay for it. Right. Here, taxpayers pay for it. So, it's just that everybody is on tons of drugs. I saw a medicine bag on Amazon the other day, a medicine bag. I was looking for a medicine bag, like a traditional Indian medicine bag, because I'm actually in a shamanic school in New Zealand now. And and I'm like, that, what? And it was a medicine bag, and it had like the empty pharmaceutical bottles, like 15 of them in this bag, this cool looking bag. So now they're trying to make it look cool to do pharmaceutical drugs. But in that, I think, is what most people are on. You should see people coming into my clinic. They got tons of these bottles that we get rid of when they leave. But anyway, so that's what the PEMF does. And if you're feeling pain, the pain is going to be alleviated. It's very relaxing. People start getting more and more energy better, faster while they're in treatment. It really helps people get through the detox first 3 days of the clinic. But yeah, so I was saying that most of the high profile, the really nice clinics in Europe actually will give people a 20 to 30 minute PEMF treatment in one of these beds before any treatment, because it makes the treatment work better. because it gets the cells moving, it gets things, you know, the circulation, it gets the inflammation down, it gets the ion exchange across the cell. It boosts the transmembrane voltage. Like I said, like putting, you know, jumper cables across your cells. Cells do have a negative and positive polarity, a difference of potential. You do this with it, you should watch those magnets dance, and that's just like pumping energy into the cell. And then they go in for their whatever treatment that they came in for. That's how important it is in Europe. They get this stuff. We get it. There's only so many people that can afford practitioners like me because, you know, we're not covered by insurance.
Is it the same, Janita, for ozone treatment? Is it also used widely in Europe, but not in the US?
Yeah. Germany has ozone machines in their ambulances to flood the body with oxygen. In fact, you know, they're all over Europe. In fact, the machine I have, the Econica, top of the line, the machine I have is in multiple countries. And in fact, if you do your research, you'll find that a lot of the upscale clinics and hospitals and universities that perform medical procedures actually prefer ozone over ozone treatment, ozone blood dialysis, not autohemotherapy, high volume because it really gets the job done, over drugs and surgery for a lot of diseases. For a lot of places, it's their first pass. Their first medical approach is ozone.
Right. Also, can you tell us how the ozone therapy is given, and how do the patients what do the patients experience?
So, yeah, the ozone and PEMF are what I call the two-punch system for cancer. The best possible alternative medicine. Of course, better than chemo. Of course, better than all those, you know, very invasive, very toxic, and very addictive methods that usually end up killing people and making their lives horrible on the way. But so why ozone and PEMF work so well together is because, and like I said, high volume, which is an ozone blood dialysis. You know, you go in one arm, you pull from one arm, it goes through an ozone chamber at a very slow rate, like 10 to 20 milliliters a minute, and then back into the other arm. And you can see the two lines. You can see the oxygen-rich, clean, detox blood is very bright, silky red, and the blood going into the ozone chamber is like black cherry, depleted. You know, the eyes can see. You know, the blood coming out sparkles. You know, like people's eyes that are healthy. Sparkles. You know, our blood looks like silk. It looks like red silk in a shining light. I have an infatuation with blood. But anyway, so the two-punch system works excellent because, you know, ozone floods the body with oxygen. Okay, you can see it with your eyes. Floods the body with oxygen. And ozone is known, it's a fact, to kill all pathogens. And all pathogens have a lovely thing in common when they come into my clinic. I have an artillery of pathogen killing equipment, including ozone, because all pathogens have one thing in common. They don't have resistance with oxidative stress. Okay. So the ozone kills all pathogens, and that's important. Killing mold, fungus, yeast, other, bacterial infections, lipopolysaccharides that are, endotoxins created from a toxic environment in the body, bad diet, et cetera, killing those things actually it actually frees up nutrients to do the good. It's like pruning a tree, right? You prune a tree, you prune all the stuff that's not working so well because water and nutrients are still trying to keep it going, So water and nutrients are ions, mineral ions and nutrients are being used to try either kill them, metabolize the toxins, get rid of them, which is a huge nutritional tax, or trying to keep them going because they do suck up nutrient stores, right? They need, so they use vitamins and minerals to maintain their living requirements, right? So you get rid of those, it's like pruning a tree. Now you've freed up a bunch of nutrients to get into the cells to fight off the cancer, okay? to help raise the transmembrane voltage. All right. So that's great. And of course, cancer cells are pathogen. So the ozone actually kills in that chamber, kills the cancer cells. So you reduce the load while you're at the clinic here, getting all the nutrients, ancient nutrition, superfoods that you need, calorie reduction, cleaning out, all the other treatments involved in the cancer program here. But it's so you can see, so the ozone, and by the way, if you come in with cancer, we actually add auto chemo. You kind of start cleaning up the blood as you're going to prepare you for the ozone blood dialysis. I would never take somebody just off the street. People call all the time. I could be a millionaire if I took all the calls. Oh, I just want to come in for an ozone treatment. I would never do that. I would never just take somebody off the street, book them an appointment to go on my ozone machine, on the EBOO, because people are so toxic today. I'll put them they'll experience a Herx reaction and be in bed for 3 days, hating me. No, I'm not going to do that. In just the ozone alone, the EBOO is 24 in Europe for just EBOO treatment. For the clinics that like to do that to people, it's 2,400. In the packages here, that's like for the full comprehensive package that you get here, it's 5,900. So you can see what a deal people are getting when they get here. But anyway, back to, so the ozone kills stuff. But here's a little deal here. Killing pathogens actually for a few days will create inflammation because I'm killing. So the body's immune system kicks in. What's going on? What do we got to repair? This and that. So it will actually increase. So using the PEMF to reduce so we put, reduce the inflammation, get the circulation going, get the transmembrane voltage back, get the cells internally working well in their new environment and keeping the inflammation down and whatnot. And also, we don't put people on the EBOO until the last day of the treatment cycle. So I've gotten rid of all, by the way, I've gotten rid of all the things that cause inflammation in them. Believe me, by the time they get on that EBOO, they are squeaky clean. And that's actually a beautiful thing too, because after eating right, the super nutrition, no inflammation, good, great circulation, high transmembrane voltage, you get on the EBOO, and that EBOO is there to finish the job. It's like, it gets deeper with the no inflammation. Can you imagine? It gets deeper into all the tissues, the brain tissue, the liver tissue, the colon. It gets deeper into everything. It's a much better treatment. Years ago, before I even had, hundreds of thousands of dollars of great medical technology, just the way I fed, provide the nutrition and the way we fed people with calorie restriction and this and that during treatment, I used to tell practitioners back in Spanish, I'll go toe-to-toe with anybody. You want my Myers cocktails, I get much better medical efficacies out of any treatment I give anybody because of the environment, the biological terrain that I create in their bodies that's receiving the treatment. NAD treatment, people pay $1,000 a day for NAD treatment. They go have breakfast at McDonald's. They have all this inflammation. They go in for their treatment into the clinic, and it goes nowhere. And by the way, I've actually tested this. I don't even do NAD until maybe the second or third day. Like, I clean them out, I give them a bunch of treatments to start raising transmembrane voltage. Regular people that when we used to do it for day 1, 2, and 3, 4, they weren't like getting the standard reaction of NAD. And as the days go by, it was like, oh man, I'm feeling it now because they were getting cleaner and cleaner. So now we don't even start the NAD treatment until like second or third day. But anyway, so that's the two punch system of EBOO and PEMF. EBOO kills everything, and the PEMF helps get it out, raise transmembrane voltage, get the cells dancing internally in the divine dance that they were made to do, to function like. And it works. It's a very powerful approach toward any disease, really.
Janita, thank you very much for that insightful explanation. It's a very hopeful and bright outlook for somebody who's been given a truly devastating diagnosis like cancer. and for whom the alternative is cancer treatments are truly frightening options.
Yeah.
So
The sooner the better. We can be almost 100% successful. The sooner the better. Here's a couple of things to look for if you're concerned. Get yourself an oximeter and test your O2 levels, your oxygen uptake, okay? If that's low, you got something to be concerned about. Test your pH. You want to keep your pH correct. Higher pH, higher oxygen uptake. All my professional athletes, the first thing we do for stamina, for performance, for oxygen uptake is get their pH right. That immediately, that raises hydrogen, which draws the oxygen into the cells. And by the way, I want to correct something. You need hydrogen and oxygen. It's the hydrogen proton that is released in the mitochondria that creates the energy. It's not the oxygen. You need both. So you got to make sure that you got lots of hydrogen in you. And one way of doing that is an alkaline diet, hydrogen water, and hydrogen inhalation.
Fantastic. It is.
Things, because if you got acidic pH, low oxygen exchange, and and then you can go get a lactic acid test. If you got those things, get checked out. Definitely get checked out.
Yes. If battling with cancer is a difficult journey, and people need all the help that they get. So yeah. I would like to invite those who are watching us. If you or someone you love is battling with cancer, then we invite you to contact the Ozone Treatment Center and come speak to Janita for a consultation, find out what is the alternatives to what otherwise could be a really trying challenge and a expensive, difficult journey, where what is available is PEMF and ozone treatment that can genuinely relieve the pain and help you regain your health again. And we can, if you would like to speak to Janita, you can find her via the ozonetreatmentcenter.com website.
And also, one last thing, just for those that call this interview too late. If you've already gone through chemotherapy and you're feeling like crap, that's another thing. This system, the PMF, is great for getting all that radioactivity out of your cells and getting your immune system back. What we do here can help bring you back very quickly, and get your cells functioning right again, and detox them, get their transmembrane voltage up, and get your immune system back on track, because chemo destroys it. That's why, there's, the recidivism, the cancer coming back rates are just so high. There's a lot of reasons for that, but that's one of them.
Well, we are grateful for a truly hopeful alternative that you have provided. Thank you very much, Janita.
Thank you, Monique. Thank you for having me. All right. Talk to you soon.